Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Michelle, your host and pocket DJ of Coffee Fueled Stories, a show where storytelling and coffee hang out. This week's special guest is Jamal Hodge. He is storyteller, traveler, and dream maker. Hello, welcome to the show, Jamal.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is so cool.
Thanks for having me.
We have several things to talk about. Excuse me. Several things to talk about. We'll talk about your movies, we'll talk about your poetry, and then we're going to talk about some horror stories. So, to get the listeners familiar with you, let's talk about your two books, though. We've got two books to talk about, and that is Dark Between the Twilight, your collection of poetry, which is absolutely hauntingly beautiful. A few of them brought me to tears, so we'll talk about that too. And then I would also love to talk about your brand new book that's coming out. Well, actually, you're going to talk about this. I'm going to introduce it, but you're going to talk about this. So it is The Bestiary of Blood: Modern Fables and Dark Tales. So let the listeners know a little bit about Dark Between the Twilight, because, like I said, that is an amazing book of poetry. So talk about how that came to be, please.
So, the Dark Between the Twilight came to be like during the pandemic. I really wanted to write something, like I should say, um, I should start a little bit about my personal life. Like I've had a lot of personal struggles and growing up, I had a hard childhood. I've been homeless as a child. I've been through torture and abuse. And I wanted to I've been hiding that. Like I would put bits and fragments in the films or the different things that I've done, but I never made something built on top of that, where I kind of tried to crystallize my journey for the viewer, just to show people that pain, but also courage and hope is universal, right? So the pandemic kind of gave me the courage to finally do that and the time. And I was like, yo, if you never know what could happen if I was to die tomorrow, what would I want to leave behind? What good would I want to leave behind in the world? And that book of poetry is that good that I wanted to leave behind. Because the book is really about you think it's about me, but it's actually about you, the reader. It's about how to transcend pain and darkness and transmute it through courage and vulnerability into, I would say, not only hope, but like self grace, you know?
Yeah.
So, I wanted to do that in that book. So it's a book that uses darkness to show light. It takes you on a transformational journey through three different stages. The first stage is night, and that one is more about the darkness within the imagination because evil mainly lives in our imagination. Who we think we are in our imagination is very different from who we are based on what we do or what we say. And a lot of times, the darkness in us exists in the perceived reality of our whys within our imagination. So that's why it's so imaginative. That's that section. Then the second section, Twilight, is about my personal story more in depth and sharing some of the darkest moments of my life to just show the viewer that, or the reader that, I'm so just filmmaker, I keep on saying viewer, but the reader that you have it's okay um to the way to free yourself from pain and shame is to make it useful to somebody else who's going through the same thing, because then you give it meaning, and once it has meaning it frees you up from feeling that there's no justice in the universe because you've created that justice, you've created that meaning. And when you see it heal somebody else, then you be like, that's why I had to bear that cross for that person. And it kind of frees you up from that senseless pain or violence that you experienced. So that's what that section is for. And then the last section is the power of truth. And truth doesn't necessarily make you happy, but truth sets you free. And from being free, you can choose to be happy if you want to. So that's the structure of the book.
And like I said, it is hauntingly, disturbingly beautiful. I wrote down a couple of the poems that just moved me. Tomorrow I'll be five, and the dying girl. Like I was just like, oh my gosh. And then because of course you had the photo that went with it, and I was just like, oh, I was just like, literally, I was like, those heartstrings are just being yanked out of my chest. I was just like, oh man, that is. Whew, that is power. That is power. And I love what you said about justice, because uh, before, people who experienced trauma, we would keep it in. We kept it to ourselves. We didn't talk about it. And now we've learned that obviously that's not healthy. That's not good. We need to talk about it. We need to share it. And the best part of sharing is knowing that you might be able to help someone else. And that is beautiful. That is, like you said, that is just it's a connective tissue. It helps bring people together. So I am sorry that you had to go through all of that, but I love how you shared your story about that.
Thank you. I mean, it's like you're saying, like, I'm not sorry that I went through it now because by going through things, I have weird beliefs. One of my weird beliefs is that before we chose to be here as people before we were ever born, and I think we came here to experience limits within, like, limitlessness within limitation, if that makes any sense. So we came here for adversity, for challenge, for limitations, for finite being finite, and I feel like as long those things that happened to me, they happened to me for a reason because I gave them the reason, and I turned them into tools to alleviate the suffering of others. And there's no higher no noble act a person can take in their life is than to alleviate the suffering of others. So like I feel like, you know, is it unfortunate? Maybe, but that doesn't have to be where your story ends. You know, nothing is happening to me now. Those things happen to a kid that I honor and I have compassion and grace for now, but nothing is happening to me now, so I don't need to carry that in my imagination and be my own torturer anymore. I can use that newfound freedom, the experience of that kid, to help hopefully hundreds of thousands of other kids going through it. So, in a sense, it could be turned into a gift if we transmutate it into that, which is, what I'm trying to show in the book. You know.
Absolutely. And that, like I said, it's just the only way I can describe it again personally for me is it was just beautifully haunting, and it was just, your
Thank you.
words, like, oh my God, like I just like perhaps, like you opened with perhaps, and I read that one like five times before I moved on to the next. I was just like, I just can't get enough of these words. So, um, that
Thank you
being
so much.
said, I would love to talk about your new book, because I've got a feeling we could probably
Mhm.
talk the whole hour just on that book. So, but we've got lots of things
That's
to
true.
talk about. So let's talk about the new book that's coming out, which is it still released for the scheduled release date, October 4th?
We are hoping, praying. We are pushing through. Joe and the team and everybody, Crystal Lake, they're really working with me, and we're going hard to get that date.
All
So,
right.
got the God's willing.
We're
We'll
going for
get
that
there.
date. We're gonna everybody put your
Right.
energy into that date, October 4th, October 4th.
Yes, ma'am.
So in regard to, I'm gonna read your this is the temporary description right now. Like it could change, but I've got a feeling it's gonna be pretty close to this because this sounds really
It pretty
awesome.
much is.
So the Bestiary of Blood, Modern Fables and Dark Tales was conceived in a moment of revelation, born from the visceral experience of watching nature's savage ballet. Lions tearing into flesh, hyenas gnawing bones, sharks thrashing in crimson waters. These raw spectacles gave rise to a chilling epiphany. Life and death are entwined in a grotesque dance, each feeding on the other in a ceaseless cycle of transformation, creating beauty.
Those makes me laugh when I hear that because, like I was telling you earlier, like it's so damn dramatic. It's so funny. It's so funny how dramatic it is. It's funny, but it kind of sums it up as it is. I'm just trying to be too poetic. I'm in my poetry phase right now. It's funny.
I love it. I was
But
like, yes, give me more. Tell me more. Tell me more about this book, please, Jamal. I want to know.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty much Aesop's Fables meets Silence of the Lambs meets Twilight Zone. That's
Yes.
the best way to describe it.
And
So,
it's and this is an anthology, right?
yes.
So there are 36 stories, is that correct? 36 stories if I
No, there's like about 50 pieces of content in there, but there's 37 stories in it. And
Okay.
there's 37 stories and a bunch of poems. Like so it's all written from some of like I think there's like 18 17 or 18 Bram Stoker award winning writers in it. About three Lifetime Achievement Award winners and two Grandmasters in science fiction. So it's a it's a beast. It's a beast. It's definitely a beast. It's a long time coming. A lot of people really stuck it out with me because obviously this is my first anthology, and I'm a overly ambitious person. Obviously, I always try to aim for the place beyond the stars, right, and try to hope I land on the sun. But like, I was kind of ignorant too. I really didn't know what you couldn't do, and sometimes that's the best gift is ignorance. So I just tried to go all out and try to make the craziest thing I could think of that would satisfy the readers and fill in a niche, a gap that I saw, and that there hasn't really been any sort of like Aesop fable. There's some fable, not like an Aesop fable, modernized Aesop fables, something that deals with modernity, like the biggest questions of the modern age. Um, Modern morality tales. How does that look in a world that's more secular and less religious? You know, people, some of the most darkest and intelligent minds sharing their own philosophies or moralities of the world through metaphors with animals. What do you get from that? You know what I'm saying? I thought that was extremely interesting. And it also was an excuse to work with some of the best people in the industry. Of the fun way of getting it just to see how all their minds work and definitely working on their stuff with them and it definitely improved my writing and you know my philosophy around um, storytelling has definitely evolved.
That's awesome. So how long did this book, so is this something that you've been working on for quite some time?
We've been working on this thing for almost 2 years.
Oh wow. Wow. And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys you just did a cover reveal and that cover is
Oh yeah,
gorgeous. Oh my God. So between the cover
yeah.
and the description, I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this to come out. Like I'm so excited. I am dying to read this book. I want it so bad.
I think you will. I mean, everybody who's been a part of the book so far, I got to really shout out to contributors. And no person is an island, especially taking on something so large. It's your first time. I definitely leaned on some of the experts that I know to get their opinions or their insights. Obviously, Linda Addison is my mentor. She's always there for questions and insights. The king of anthologies, Michael Bailey, you know what I mean? He's another friend and colleague that I was able to talk to a lot. Lee Murray, she supported me from the beginning. She even wrote the foreword to The Dark Between the Twilight when nobody knew who the hell I was or what I was doing. She really saw me, and I always appreciate her for that. And then, you just got a slew of other people who I was like, hey, do you want to be in this? Like, Cindy O'Quinn, our sister, you know what I mean? My sister from another mister. And you know, there's just so many people, Ace, Ace and Tony and Zombie, you know what I mean? I mean, him like coming on board, having the support of all these different people. If somebody else is gonna be writing the forward, but I'm not of liberty to mention their name, but it's a very big person in the industry that's gonna be writing the forward. And he's also been really supportive beyond my hopes and my dreams. So, Genevieve Flynn, John Skip came out of retirement to write for this because he wasn't writing anymore, and I had to scheme and beg and plot to get that. Well, it wasn't that bad, but he was apprehensive. But then, we vibed out. He's a cool dude. Met him in person, and then we made it happen. So, I mean, there's so many people, Alessandro Manzetti, he's in it. He's one of the first people that said yes. Christina Singh, she's in it. She's another early supporter of the project. Genevieve Flynn, my favorite writers. I was told that. She'll think that I'm exaggerating, but she really is. I love all her stuff. So Lisa Morton herself is in it as well. The great Lisa Morton. It was great working with her and stuff like that. Like I was moved by how there's no industry that I've ever been a part of. You know what I'm saying? Where people are so supportive of new talent. Um, People are so humble, as in like the horror space. Like I think horror has probably the best people in their community overall, that will be willing to give people a shot if you show the drive and the character, and you're willing to accept without understanding. Because I always try to tell people, if you show up with an open heart and you're willing to accept, you're willing to like pretty much you don't need to understand to accept. You just need to treat people how they show up, and they treat you how you show up. For the most part, I mean, there's assholes everywhere, but for the most part, people are really cool and supportive in the horror community in a way that I feel like it's special. The Halloween people, shout out to them. So yeah.
That's awesome. And that was actually going to be one of my questions. As the question is actually, how did you find horror?
Well, horror finds you, right? Life is a horror movie at the end of the day. It's a horror wrapped in the comedy, and it's like a horror rom-com life. That's what it really is. So it's kind of like, horror found me before I found the genre. Had a kind of crazy childhood, like I said. So I didn't, I was always fascinated by pain. Like because before I even, you know, studied Buddhism or whatever, I kind of like I really felt like pain was the one universal thing that binded all living things. That could sound morbid, but it's just the truth. Just like saying I'm here talking to you, it doesn't have to mean anything more than that. But what a good thing that it means is that because everything hurts, that means everything on some level deserves some level of compassion. And that means that you can link through that hurt between things. So I felt like horror, even though it's exciting and it's gory and the flash, I always felt like horror was actually teaching people who are watching it how to be brave, how to even how to die right when the time comes. You know what I mean? How to face your monsters, how to get away, how to plot and scheme, the point of a team, what happens when you don't unite, the dangers of underage, unprotected sex. It's all metaphors, all of that. You know what I mean? And then, in horror movies, what I really loved is like you had to take away they take away things to show you things, right? So you'll have like a movie that's hopeless. But then you will walk away thinking about the importance of hope. so it'll make you value hope when you left. Or like let's say you have like Hellraiser, you know, what people are trading for success or for greed or to feel better than others for a wish they didn't earn. The cost is always going to be more than the gift itself because it's a metaphor. People don't really a lot of times. Oh, it's just silly. Some guy with pins in his head is stupid. But what is that representing? Right? It's representing like a carnal truth that life is not about your destinations. It's about who you become on the journey of the destination. If you get to that destination in a way and become a person you can't live with, you're in the hell of your own making. You're a Xenobite. You're in the hell of your own making.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
become, and this is why people have to drink to numb the pain, or use drugs, or bury themselves in sex, or even sometimes, delete themselves. So like because they traded something for the gift and that they can't get back, and now that they have the gift, it's just another Monday. You wake up one day and it's just another Monday.
Right,
And then
right.
it's like and then who you become, right? So
And
that's how I found that.
horror is heavy. I mean, that's
Yeah.
deep. That's deep. I love it. I love it. And
Mhm.
that's actually going to lead to a couple of other questions that I have for you. So, what was do you recall the very first film that you made? Uh, whether it be horror or whatever. But the very first film doesn't have to be horror
Why are you
specific.
why are you torturing me? You should like bring it back up the pain. The pain of living. Yeah. I mean, the first official movie I did. Well, I did a lot of stupid movies. I started on documentary. I was like 15. So we would do these PSAs. So technically it was a PSA, but like a hand dropping a bottle and anti-drug PSA, stupid kid stuff, like those cheesy 90s kind of when we saw PSAs on the
Yeah, I
TVs. I'm
remember
dating
that.
myself, but you remember those days. No
I like that.
internet, Saturday
Yep.
morning you had the PSAs in
Yeah.
between the Saturday morning cartoons and all that
Yeah.
craziness.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but the official one that I did was called The Wife. Uh, it was about a toxic relationship. It was so ridiculous, but funny, very contrived. It was pretty much about a wife who knows that her husband he's a dirtbag. He's cheating on her. He knows that he's cheating on her, and she has this whole plan that she sets up. Um, where she is the neighbor, pretty much. She's cheating on her with the neighbor's wife, and she sets it up so that the neighbor ends up over there, and she leaves a gun for him, and he ends up doing what he shouldn't do. And she pretends like she walks in on it, and oh my god, she's crying, and she calls the authorities, and that's pretty much it. And starts laughing at the end.
That's awesome.
It's
I
so
love
silly.
it. I love it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so and then I did it. The Kind Ones was one that I was really proud of. It went to Cannes. The Cannes for short films. And that was good. That was about xenophobia, these strange people that move into a community that are really different, and this kid that's being abused, and the teacher tries to help him, but it's all a setup to kind of he's hunting to bring her in, but he doesn't want to because he actually cares about her. But now they told him if he doesn't hunt a person that cares about him, then they just gonna put him in with his sister in the river, basically. He has really no choice. And it's all about will he or won't he kind of thing. And they're all creatures and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It was kind of based off of the Nephilim. Um, that one we actually wrote a feature film script about. So, we still shopping it. But yeah, there was that. And then of course, The big one was Morning Meal, which won a bunch of festivals and stuff. It was based off of a poem from the great Grandmaster Linda Addison herself, and I made it about how pain. That movie is supposed to be painful to watch on purpose, because the movie is all about pain and how pain can deform a person and how pain can make monsters of us if our relationship with it is not healthy. So it's a dark, dark movie about a woman who lost her child. Um, and yeah, you go through a whole process with her.
That that sounds I've got like goosebumps like thinking about it like wow, like that's intense. So I wanted to ask you, was there a movie that sparked your passion? Was there a movie when you were, whether it was as a child or as a teenager?
Yes, there was a few movies that were super scary when I was a kid, but super funny now. Um, so my favorite horror stuff that when I was a kid, I seen Friday the 13th, I think the third one. The Dream Warriors, I think, was the fourth one, but it was the third one that I saw. The Dream Masters is the fourth one, right? And the Dream Warriors is the third one. Or am I bugging?
I thought, isn't Dream Warriors the uh Nightmare on Elm Street, or am I confusing that one?
Yeah, no, it is. They are. They both are. I saw the one where they all went in and they was all like they all had superpowers and they was fighting Freddy, and I think that was the third one. But like I love that movie. It was scary as hell when I first saw it. Um, I just had never seen something like that. And then I also liked I always thought Jason was funny. A little corny but funny. But I really liked Hellraiser. Like the first Hellraiser really had a big effect on me because it was really dark. Phantasm with the old man. But
Yeah.
the scariest movie that I saw that really made me love horror movies was Poker Dice 2. I think that was when the old man was, well, God is in his holy then. Let him all. You know, that the dude, the old man, he'd be walking around, coming to the door, and he'd be with all the people, his cult died, and he was coming for the girl and all
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I completely that's like
That was
so
the
old.
creepy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the creepiest shit I've
Creepy.
seen. That
Yeah,
old man was
super
the
creepy.
scariest dude I ever seen. He was the scariest white. I mean, to me at that age, all white people were a little creepy, but he was the creepiest one like I ever seen. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, this is the creepiest white man I ever seen in my life. I was like, why is he? I'm like, why are they opening the door for this motherfucker? I was like, you know, I was like, you have people like, why are you talking to this guy, man? You know, I was like, this shit was crazy, man. That was the creepiest dude. I was like, did he even have makeup on, or was that just his face? I was like, yo, man, this dude was wild looking, man. Crazy.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe that was so awesome. You're absolutely right though, because you're like thinking, what the hell are you
Yeah,
thinking? Why are you people
yeah, what?
opening the door?
What is going on? Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna catch my breath now. uh thank you for that awesome laughing fest. Like that was I was not expecting to, and like I said, I had completely forgot about that movie. So all I have to say is, I would love to watch horror movies with you because I have a feeling I would be laughing my ass off hysterically watching movies with you. So, uh, that being said, I wanted to ask. Did you know that you wanted to be a filmmaker? Like, was that something that your little child brain said, you know what? I like those things. I want to do that.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to be a storyteller. I got something published when I was like in sixth grade. For the school district, and it was like a Cinderella story or something. So like a turn on Cinderella, and then I always was a writer. I wrote like I used to be able to write and one complete novel and notepad like in like a week or 2 weeks. I can't do that
What?
anymore. Yeah, I was like obsessed because that was like my escape from reality. So I used to go all in and stuff. Some of them none of them are good, but some of them are decent. They have some decent moments. But yeah, it's fascinating because I don't have that skill anymore. Just you get older, to so many distractions. You know, I guess if I could write like that, I'd be like Stephen King or Jonathan Mayberry or somebody like that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Do you plan on,
um,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. No,
I was going to say, do you plan on turning some of those stories into movies? Is that something that you've like considered or like making little
nah.
shorts out of them or something?
There was like two of them that had potential that I looked at, and I kind of already started to adapt it like about 8 years ago. One of them is called Shadows in Spring, and I've been working on that one. A lot of it, believe it or not, I was like a weird kid. Like I was in the hood, but I had like telescopes. I'm like a complete astronaut astronomy nerd, which people are gonna see when my collaborative book comes out with Linda Addison next year called Everything Endless. And they're gonna see I'm just a freaking science fiction and science and astronomy nerd I am. But like, yeah, I've been loving that stuff my whole life. Like one of my happiest moments was when the James Webb Telescope went up. Um, just love that. Just love that stuff. Like exploring inner and outer worlds. I always say like, um, you know how like astronauts, they explore the unknown in the outer worlds, and we as storytellers, we explore the unknown in inner worlds. I mean, the thing that's most similar to us is the astronaut, basically,
I love
as
that.
storytellers, you know?
Yeah.
So, I always wanted to kind of do that and right. And I will adapt those, but I already have started to adapt some of those, like, between me and you and everybody else, I expect to have I expect to I'm finishing up my fifth book right now. I'll be done with it in like the next 2 months, definitely before the new year. I'll have two more finished this year, then I'm doing three next year. So there'll be a lot for me coming out over the course of the next 2, 3 years. I'll have a lot of content, literary content coming out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like I'm so I like getting to know you. Like now I'm like super excited. Like now I want to read like all of your stuff and I want to watch like all of your projects. I want to see. Now on your Instagram, you were just sharing a scene. You were on location. And then there was a woman screaming in the background and you're like, "Oh, don't mind that. She's just rehearsing." I like laughed so can you talk about that project or is that still kind of under wraps?
It's kind of under wraps. It was me and Michael Tosner was doing it. It might get expanded. It's something that Michael Tosner, who's my one of my DPs, he wrote, and we did like a short version of it that came out really good. It's about a woman who has autism, and she's constantly protected by everybody in her life, but then she just loses them to life, like all of them. Her parents, die after a while. Your parents pass. And then she has a sister, but then her sister's like super capable and teaches her how to shoot and all this stuff. But then tragedy meets her sister through a serial killer. And then she goes and she's autistic, but she gets a man that she feels like was there and might be the guy. And she's trying to get the confession out of him, but he ends up being the detective working her sister's case. So she doesn't know what to believe, and she's autistic, and it's a whole suspense thriller kind of journey.
That's that's not like I was what caught my attention about it was like I said you were showing the filming location and then all of a sudden there's this scream in the background and I was like what is Jamal working on? I was like this just based off of this alone again I'm just like I'm hooked. It seems like I'm just fascinated with the content that you're putting out there. Like I'm super excited for the book. I'm super ex I loved reading your poetry, and on your Instagram you have some of the link tree. So you have like the jump, and I said earlier I mentioned I Instagrammed you, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I was just moved to tears with that. Like you just you had there's so much passion in your work, and it's just like I'm in awe of your work. Like I
Thank you so much.
I just
I wish I was lazier and I could just make things cheaper and I didn't care as much because I would have a lot more money. Sometimes, full disclosure, I'd be like, damn, man, why do I have to bleed for everything? Like, I'd be trying to bleed for everything. Like, and I just I can't not strive to be better or to just give the audience something special every single time. But sometimes it just takes so much time to do that, or it takes so much out of you to do that. You just be like, I should just make content, but it's just not who I am, I'm like a old school, older head. So I really want to make every experience for the viewer or the reader as valuable as possible.
and I get that. I'm the same way. I refuse to I believe in quality over quantity. And
Mm-hmm.
there's something about literally pouring your blood and your heart into it and your passion. You can feel it. Like you can feel it. Like I said,
Yeah.
I was moved. I was genuinely moved. And that's clearly someone who, is passionate about the work that they do. And that's going to lead to the second to last, the penultimate question, because I do have one more question for you. But not this isn't it. So I wanted to ask, is there a film or a project that you've been waiting to work on, but you're still tooling it, you're just it's not quite feeling right for you?
Oh yeah,
And
of course. It's a bunch.
yeah, so we
Of
can, in other
course.
words, we can expect a whole lot. Like you're still gonna give
Well,
us some good.
we're in the my business Hodge Cinema, me and my partners, we're working on several projects. So we're creating a slate that we want to sell. We have right now we have about four projects in post. So we have like one is called Necessary Evil. That was written by Kareem Hayes and produced by Kareem Hayes. He's also one of the partners at Hodge Cinema. He's also on Beast Area Blood. Wrote a phenomenal story, you know, about how it's like growing up in the hood through wolves. And then we're getting that story's done well at the festival circuit. It premiered at the not the Guggenheim, the other big one. I gotta remember the name of the museum. So we showed it there at the Hip Hop Film Festival last year, and now we've been shopping it around to turn to a feature film. So I really want to make that movie. So we're just looking for investors and people to come in on that. It's unique because it's an urban film with a spiritual bent. So it combines and blends the two. And then outside of that, there's this really, really film. It's the best script I've ever written, short wise, and it's called Half of Me. And it had whole rooms crying, and women were coming up to me being like, "How do you write women so well? Oh my God, how do you understand this stuff?" I was like, "Oh, you know, you know, you know." I was going to say something probably not appropriate for this podcast, but which is my response to that question. But anyway, um, but yeah, it's a powerful story about a woman who's dancing with her younger self, and you find out that she was molested by her own father. Her family knew and they didn't do anything about it because they wanted to shame the family. And this happens a lot, in especially like in the Caribbean. Not all the time, but like it's a lot. It happens a lot everywhere, but it happens a lot too. They don't talk about it in certain cultures. and because the family has to like keep face, you know, and she runs away from home, and the only way she can feel that she has control of her body is to become a dancer. She could, you know, but she's out of tune with her younger self. And she gets a call one day from her brother, who she hasn't heard from in like almost 10 years. And he's like, Dad died, and we want you to come to a wake. And it's all about will she or wouldn't she come? She has a fiance, but she's not that good. He deals with a lot of her trauma. And sometimes she's very snappy at him or very feels like she's always testing to see if he's safe, you know, because of what happened to her. And it's all about if she goes, if she confronts her family, she might miss her big tryout for this dance that she wants to be a part of, this big production. So it's like choosing between your past or your future. And can you have a future if you don't reconcile your past? It's called Half of Me. I've been wanting to turn it into a feature, but I've been wanting to write that story. Everybody's telling me I have to, but it's so painful to write. It is so painful to write, you know? I wasn't sexually abused as a child, but I was definitely tortured as a child. So, you know, that pain is so visceral. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like the only way to write things authentically is you gotta put yourself in that emotional space as you're writing it, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, I don't know if I really want to go back there, but I feel like that's the story I have to make. I know I have to make that one, and I have to extend Knockout Game and make that. Those are the two at the forward of my mind. But we also have a TV show called Typecast, which is a dramedy about trying to make it in New York as an actor and also racism. It's a comedy about racism. So, you know, it's very risque. Got a lot of cool people in it. Some actors that was on Euphoria and you know, Lenny Thomas from Ruthless, Tyler Perry's Ruthless, who plays Daikon. He's the lead in it. So we got some good people, good solid cast. You know, Jessica Carrillo, you know, all these different people who are just like great talents. It's a phenomenal piece. We're finishing that up. We're premiering the second episode at Chelsea Film Festival this year in October. And then the last one is Take It to the Grave. Take It to the Grave is a crazy rom-com that I made. Nothing, it's like nothing you ever seen before. And it's really crazy and wacky and it's just a crazy thing about a black magician, which is already fun because it's like no black male magicians. I dare you to name one, Michelle. I
I
dare
don't
you.
I don't know.
So this brother wants to bring magic to the
Like,
hood, and people are just like, "Yo, get the fuck out of here, man!" You know, you know that magic shit. You dinosaur David Blaine. You know, so it's bad funny, right? He's just trying
oh
his best. He's not really that good, but he has such relief in what he's doing, and that he impresses this super ultra successful woman that only works with numbers all the time. She works in the stock market. She works with numbers. She's super tidy and super organized and everything like that. But she doesn't have passion anymore. She's just stuck in a routine, and she can't find a man. And her friends are sick of her. You know, her two best friends are just like, "We tired of you." Like, you know, we tired of you being, you know, dry as a desert. You know, so they're trying to help her. They're trying to bring the oasis to her. So they bring her to a bar. They'll to meet a guy. He's having a show, and they connect, and then complete craziness happens from there. And they're both telling the story of how they met from two different points of views. They have the same story, but only one of them knows the truth. So that's that rom com. Take it to the grave.
I love it. Take it to the grave. I'm so there. I'm literally I cannot wait for like all of your projects to come. Like I said, I was playing on your link tree and I was just like, I'm like, what is that? What is that? What is that? And I think there was something about the writing and the madness, or where you had
Oh,
like,
oh yeah, man, yeah, Minus and Riders, of course. I mean,
yeah,
that's
that one
that's
was
from that's it's a creation from Gypsy Light Productions. Velva's the showrunner and founder creator of the series. You know what I'm saying? I'm directing it. Lucas Hassel from The Blacklist. You know, the most beautiful man in the world. He's the host, Lucas Hassel, and then we got Michael Bailey, who's our writer, and he's also like a great producer, who's connected us to all these phenomenal people in the industry. And what it is that we go to their homes and we interview them and we add a little cinematic spice to it. It's shot like a film, but it's technically a docu-series. And there are certain little touches, little spring, like Salt Bay, a little Salt Bay in there. And put a little salt on it. And Yeah, it's really good. I mean, so far we have a great lineup. Some all the biggest heads in the industry. We've already worked with Josh Malaman from Bird Box, who wrote Bird Box and Incidents Around the House, which is one of the greatest books ever written in horror, by the way. Especially the audiobook's incredible. You just gotta check it out. Incidents Around the House by Josh Malaman. Then we also got Chuck Palahniuk, um, of course, Michael Bailey, Linda Addison, Cynthia Paleo, the first Bram Stoker winner, Puerto Rican Bram Stoker award winner, Cynthia Paleo, also super dope writer and friend. Who else we got? So many people, so many people. Some of them I can't really say until they're actually recorded, but yeah, we got a great lineup for you guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited for all of your projects. I can't wait. So I'm super excited for you. Seriously, I cannot wait for, like, is it October 4th yet? Is it October 4th for Bestiary Blood? Like,
Oh,
I'm
that
ready
book,
for that. I'm ready for
something
that.
else.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then this is my final question for you, because you actually did mention coffee was actually mentioned in your Dark Between the Twilight. That's how you had connected, was over coffee. And so I wanted to ask you, what is your go-to coffee drink, and how much coffee do you drink in a day?
Well, you're not gonna like my answer.
You don't drink coffee anymore.
So I am scared of drinking coffee because I work on film sets and everybody's so damn addicted to it, but they can't even function without it, that I did not want to be that reliant on anything else outside myself. So I drink coffee very sparingly. But when I do, I either drink it completely black, with honey, in my version of cannibalism, or I actually um get like one of those mocha lattes. I drink it cold, basically, from Starbucks or something like that, with one of those caramel lattes. Grande, I think they call it. I don't know how they go. So, but yeah. I really like it. I really like coffee. It's just when I drink it, it affects me. I used to really love the Dunkachinos. That's the most I ever drunk, where they mix hot chocolate with coffee, which might sound like blasphemy to you. I used to love it, you know? So, yeah.
That's awesome. I had no idea that being around set and the coffee, like the story of that. God forbid
They'd
you
be,
have
they'd
to
be,
run it.
they'd be about to kill, yeah, they'd be about to kill you. Like, the only time I ever had them, almost like a mini mutiny, was when I was first doing it. I didn't know this. And we had to literally buy a coffee making machine because the store was closed. We had to send them to buy it and make coffee from scratch for these people because that's how livid they were. Yeah, you cannot.
Do not run
The
out of
food could be
coffee on
late.
set.
The food, the food could be late. Talent could be late, but the coffee cannot be late on set.
Good to
It
know.
cannot.
Good to know. I had no idea. No idea. I just learned something completely new. So being a coffee runner is very important on set. Like
it's
that's
it's
no
it's
joke.
it's life and death. It's life and death.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea. So now I know. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jamal, seriously, it has been a true pleasure. I cannot wait for all of your
Thank you,
projects.
Michelle.
It was so awesome getting to know you. And the tagline for my show is "Go forth and be magical." And I would love it if you would send us off with a "Go forth and be magical," please.
Go forth and be magical.